Good morning, staff. So this is a recording about virtual learning schedules. I know last spring we were all just doing the very best that we can, and it was kind of the Wild West as far as schedule went. We hope to this fall do things a little bit better, have a better idea of what we want to do going into it. And ultimately, we want this to be a better experience for kids. And so I want to share with you a possibility, or at least an idea, of how this could work. So I'm going to share my screen with you. So what this is it's an idea of what a possible schedule could look like for a week. And just to walk you through some of this, what we're doing is we have basically 3 calendars. So we're combining math and science, so they're on a similar schedule. We're combining language arts and social studies, so they are on a similar schedule. And then we're using related arts as their own schedule. And all of this with the intent of creating a schedule where students could maximize the amount of time they could spend in live instruction if teachers choose to do live instruction. Of course, you can use recorded Google Meets instruction as well. But what would happen is there would be primarily 2 days of video instruction, whether that's live or recorded, and also known as asynchronous or synchronous. And for the math and science people, you can see that those days would happen on Mondays and Thursdays. And it's also predicated upon the idea that many of you have 2 preps. So there would be 1 session for video instruction and then the possibility of another. And you can see that the time blocks are laid out in approximately 45-minute chunks, similar to what our periods are here, and with a 15-minute break in between each. So math and science would be presenting their direct instruction or their activity, that live instruction to students on Mondays and Thursdays. And if we look down here, we can see that our language arts and social studies, they would be doing that on the opposite days, on Tuesday and Friday. So they would have days for video instruction on those days. And then there are times for planning. There's a built-in time for lunch, of course. And you can see then, if we scroll down even further, that for virtual learning for related arts, their days for video instruction are going to be on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So just kind of what we're trying to do is spread out some of that video instruction so that it happens at different times, so that our students aren't bombarded with video instruction all at once. If they wanted to attend live sessions and instructors were making those opportunities available, they could. Of course, I think if we go to a virtual learning environment, teachers would certainly have the option to pre-record their video instruction. I think that would be fine. In some ways, I think that is a better option. But this would leave options open for everybody. The other thing that this calendar does, and in some ways it's maybe more detailed than it needs to be, but once we've synchronized or laid out where our video instruction could happen so that it's not overlapping, the other thing that we want to do is, how do we recreate those important experiences that normally happen in a classroom, but in a virtual learning environment, as we found out last spring, it's really hard to replicate. And some of those moments where you may stop at a student's desk for just 2 minutes, but that live interaction really goes a long way towards helping a student understand something or get past that one roadblock that's keeping them from understanding a skill or completely getting the information and knowledge that you want them to understand. How do we replicate those moments in a virtual environment? And so what we would like to do is schedule in a lot of one-on-one or small group video instruction with students. And that's something that I think we still need to think about what that looks like and how we do that. But there is time scheduled in on this schedule for teachers to do that. And that doesn't have to be a 30-minute session. It really could look like, I think, what I'm envisioning is, again, replacing those moments that normally happen in the classroom. Maybe it's just a brief, hey, I'm going to check in with you for 10 minutes that really is only 5 minutes in actuality, but you set up a meeting with a student, you meet with them live via Google Meets or something else within Canvas, but just checking in with them to see how they're doing. Do they understand what's going on currently in class? And is there anything you can help them with? And I think that the importance of those moments is very real and something that we want to make sure we can build into a virtual environment as much as possible. So there's a lot of time for that. And as this is just a mock-up of some ideas that have been best practices that have been circulating online, I think this could be simplified, but the main idea, I think the objectives that I'm looking to use when creating something like this is how can we make sure that we're working together to create a calendar where all students can participate in live instruction if they want to, that those things don't overlap. And then on top of that, how do we make sure that we're still communicating as authentically as possible, which means face-to-face, whether it be video, as often as we can. So creating time and building in time and expectations that we continue to do that. Those are the two primary objectives that I hope this schedule or a schedule like this could meet. The other thing that you'll notice is that on Wednesdays, Wednesday is kind of a work day for students, and there's a time for PCMS staff to work together. And this could look like any number of things, but when I spoke to some of you over the summer and asked, if we go virtual for a long period of time, what is it that teachers really need? And one of the first things that many staff said to me was, what we really needed, what really started to make things click last spring was when we started to work together. And so they said, it would be easier if we just had a set time when everybody came in and worked together. So if we're virtual for weeks at a time, which is certainly very possible, we could look at one day a week where something like that happens, where staff is expected to come in for at least a few hours. There'd be built-in time for math or language arts teachers to work together, or even grade level teams to work together, talk to special ed teachers, and make sure everyone's on the same page. And then if we needed some professional development on something that we're still learning about, we could do that as well. So this is an idea, and I wanted to get your feedback on that. Have you start thinking about something like this? How do you see this working or not? What potential problems do you see with this? What do you like about it? What do you not? But again, my primary goal in creating a schedule would be to optimize or ensure that students have a schedule where they can go to as many live sessions as they want, and also that we can build in times for teachers to connect with students either one-on-one or in small groups to replicate those experiences from the classroom. So I'd love to hear your feedback on something like this. Questions, comments, concerns. Let me know what you think. Thanks.